Web Host Manager and cPanel operate as the silent administrative layer of the Internet, managing the infrastructure for more than 70 million domains worldwide. That massive reach is why a vulnerability tracked as CVE 2026-41940 triggered a global security crisis. It carries a severity score of 9.8 out of 10, and evidence shows that attackers have been actively exploiting the flaw since late February. The threat was so severe that hosting providers like Namecheap and KnownHost took immediate preemptive action. They firewalled their management ports and intentionally locked customers out of their own control panels to prevent the exploit from spreading. This software flaw forced providers into an operational standoff: keep customer sites online and risk total server takeover, or disable the management interface entirely until a patch could be applied. Before logging in, cPanel writes a session file. Attackers omit a cookie segment to bypass encryption. Using a line feed injection, they write user equals root into the file. The system assumes authentication, granting full access and bypassing passwords entirely. This flaw turns the system's own session handling logic against itself. Passwords and hardware tokens become irrelevant because the server has been convinced from the inside that a valid administrative login has already occurred. These breaches are not being performed manually. The exploit is being ruthlessly automated by botnets utilizing the Nuclear.86 Mirai variant. Once the botnet gains entry, it deploys hundreds of PHP web shells to every directory on the server. These shells systematically extract AWS keys, Stripe Live tokens, crypto wallet seeds, and full database dumps. This visual represents the server's directory tree. The malware includes a timer-based payload that indiscriminately deletes core operating system files, like the boot directory. Once deleted, the operating system is a ghost, running purely from the server's RAM. If a sysadmin notices the intrusion and tries to reboot the server to clear the malware, the machine will permanently brick because it no longer has the files required to start up. By wiping boot files before a shutdown, the malware weaponizes the victim's incident response instincts, converting a standard reboot into an irreversible self-destruct mechanism. Because this toolkit is widespread and automated, any server running an unpatched version of cPanel must be audited for existing indicators of compromise. This is a primary forensic identifier left by the toolkit. It relies on a specific hard-coded MySQL password. If you find the exact string shown here in your logs or database configurations, your system is already compromised. You must also look for secondary identifiers, including suspicious PHP files like x-9-d.php, and unauthorized accounts with root-level UID 0 privileges, and the libcow rootkit masquerading as a kernel process. Traditional security software often overlooks these quiet changes. Neutralizing the threat requires a manual audit of the server logs to locate these unauthorized modifications. To secure a vulnerable server, you must force a system update using a specific command, followed by a hard restart of the cPanel service daemon. If you cannot patch the software immediately, you must move to an emergency fallback. Use your firewall to block all inbound traffic on management ports 2083, 2087, 2095, and 2096. Following a breach, you must assume total system compromise. This requires rotating every WHM, database, and FTP password, and migrating exclusively to key-only SSH access. Closing the software vulnerability is just the first step. Securing a server after a root-level bypass requires a total rotation of all credentials and a move towards an environment where no single password can grant full system access.